Okay, tell me this champion isn't going to be a problem. Sabrael the Distant is the new mythical support champ added in this latest update. She's a High Elves champ, and she looks pretty ridiculous. There's only 7 reviews so far, because not many people have got their hands on Sabrael yet, but I do think she could be a bit of an issue. This is what she looks like in her normal form, and then her evolved form, she turns into an attack champ, and she looks pretty crazy, not gonna lie. So let's have a look through these skills and why I think Sabrael is gonna be a bit of an issue if you somehow get lucky enough to get her. There's no event, you just gotta get her from normal shards, which is gonna be really unlikely. Before we do look at her abilities, make sure to click the link in the description or scan the QR code over there though, because you can get all of these champions when you start a new raid account right now. Really good time to start. Okay, let's take a look at what makes Sabrael special then. So, firstly, her aura increases ally speed in arena battles by 33%. That's kind of ridiculous. So, obviously, she is a speed demon, mainly for arena. Let's start with her A1. Active effect, attacks one enemy, places a sleep on the target for 1 turn. Instantly activates this skill against the enemy with the highest turn meter whenever an enemy's turn meter is increased by a skill. So not only does she have a sleep on her A1, he basically just activates it whenever someone else has used a turn meter control ability. That is just ridiculous. Sleep is so strong in arena, so this is ridiculous. And if you level it up, it ignores resistance plus 20%. So you can't even, like, I mean, if you got a decent bit of accuracy on her, you can't even resist it. That's crazy. Okay, the A2. Perfection and Motion level 1. Attacks all enemies 2 times. So an AoE 2 time. Each hit steals all buffs from all enemies. Then places a buff spread effect, taking all buffs from this champion and places them on all allies. So you steal all the buffs from the enemies, put it on your teammates, which is pretty crazy. I gotta say. And then we've got the A3. Attacks all enemies 2 times again. So another AoE multi-hit attack. Obviously, that's going to be really good for high guard. Let's have a look. Each hit increases the cooldown of one of each enemy's skills to the maximum. Also decreases the turn meters of all enemies by 30%. And then grants an extra turn. You can reduce the cooldown. It's normally a 5 turn, and a first book will ignore the resistance plus 20% as well. This is basically going to be pretty ridiculous as well, because it's another turn meter control, and it's going to turn one of each enemy's skills to the maximum, right? So cooldown wise, that's going to really slow down your enemies a lot, which is kind of crazy. The next ability, Metamorph, they'll turn into their extra form, and we'll have a look at the abilities there in a second, and then grants them an extra turn. And then we've got the passive. Is that it? This champion receives no damage when attacked by enemies, including bosses and their minions, out of their active turn. So if there's ally attack abilities, then it's not going to work. Only active attacks in your active turn will do damage to Sabrael. No ally attacks, no team-ups. It's not going to work, which is crazy. All allies except this champion deal 3% more damage for each enemy skill that has had its cooldown increased by this champion, stacks up to 25%. So that pairs with the Sneer of Disdain, the A3. If there are multiple champions on the team with a skill, only one will activate. The skill will not activate on duplicate copies of this champion if this particular champion is dead. So the main part is the receiving no attacks, no damage when attacked by enemies out of the active turn. That works for bosses and minions as well, which is pretty interesting. So we are now going to move on to the next form, attack. So let's start with the A1. Attacks one enemy 3 times and will ignore block damage and unkillable buffs. Instantly activates this skill and enemy against an enemy when that enemy receives a block damage or unkillable buff, or have their death prevented by themselves or allies. So revive on any like block death skills or anything like that, any unkillable enemy block damage. If that buff goes on, you'll just instantly activate this. And it's a triple attack. Pretty crazy. And you get plus 20% damage for a level 2 book, which is pretty ridiculous. The A2 attacks all enemies 2 times. Before attacking, swaps HP with a target enemy. For this skill, increase this champion's attack and decrease all enemies' defense by a percentage equal to the percentage of HP swapped. So you can basically choose who to swap HP with. You'd kind of only want to do this when your HP is low. You may want to choose another enemy that has a lot of HP. Pretty crazy, I must say. And then the A3 attacks all enemies 2 times. Will ignore 25% of the target's defense. And for attacking, decreases the value of any stone skin, shield, and magma shield buffs by 75%. This effect cannot be resisted if target has any skill on cooldown. Places a protected shield buff on this champion for 2 turns. The value of the shield is proportional to this champion's attack. And then you can metamorph at any point as well. And the passive. This champion's attacks are always critical against enemies that have any skills on cooldown. This champion's skills do 3% more damage for each turn of cooldown remaining on all enemy skills. So you could do something quite interesting. You could just go crazy on the critical damage and overall other stats besides the critical rate potentially. Obviously, this is only going to activate when you're in the attack mode, but that is pretty crazy. Now, Sabrael the Distant is the new mythical for April, and they keep adding mythicals, and I mean, it's you know, like, it's crazy. I've been playing for over a year now, and I'm just about to get my first mythical, obviously only through the fusion, right? I finally got all of the champs ready for the fusion. I'm just waiting for the champ training event. Actually, I think we got it. Yeah, champion training. We're going to start leveling them up now. And then I'm going to wait for the champion chase tournament to fuse these champs and make my first mythical. But yeah, mythicals have been out for like a few years. And after all this time, more and more mythicals are coming. But to get our hands on it seems to be pretty hard. But I would love to get my hands on Sabrael the Distant. Seems like a really good champ. Interesting about these ratings. Not sure how much I can trust them, to be honest. Oh, it's going to be interesting to see when people really start to get Sabrael. I haven't seen any yet. If you've seen a Sabrael in like live arena or something, let me know how dangerous it is. I thought I'd show the other champions added in this update as well. Obviously, Sabrael, we talked about that just now. And there's the alternate form. But we also have Mavara, which we're currently working for on the fusion. Pretty good arena champ as well, to be honest. A support legendary in the Dark Elves faction that has a 28% ally speed in arena battles aura, which is quite nice. And we got a new legendary here, Baird the Broad, which is a Sylvian Watcher's defense. It looks like they got a continuous heal ability on the A1, a debuff spread effect on the A2, provoke and pain link, and also counterattack on A3. And the passive heals all allies by 40% of any damage dealt to this champion at the end of this champion's turns. Places a 60% increased defense buff on this champion. We've also got Noson the Bronze Bull, which is a new Argonites champ, so they're really starting to add more to the Argonites faction. There's a provoke debuff on the A1, Stone Skin, ignores Stone Skin on the A2, has the hard earn. Okay, so on this A2, they'll immediately activate the A3 if a target is killed. And if they don't get killed, they'll heal all allies, which is quite good. And the A3 is an attack all allies and has an 80% chance of placing a provoke debuff on all enemies. And then the passive, enemies under provoke debuffs deal 50% less damage. Oh, sorry, enemies. Allies deal 20% more damage against enemies under provoke debuffs, which is pretty cool. And then we got Kosk of Two Skins, who is a Lizardman legendary. He's got poison. Each hit has a 50% chance of increasing the duration of enemy debuffs. And if the second hit does not increase the duration of enemy debuffs, instantly activates all poison debuffs on the target instead. So a lot of, it's like a debuff spread and poison champ, pretty cool. Then we've got more, Pimo the Shepherd, another Argonites legendary defense champ. The Cyclops looks pretty cool. You can have a look at the skills here. Text one enemy, 80% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter. So a bit of a turn meter control maybe. Good Shepherd has a decreased defense buff and a shield buff on, increased defense on all allies. And also instantly activates this when an ally is killed. We've got a 75% chance of placing a stun debuff as well, and decreasing turn meter. And the passive increases this champion's defense by 3%, sex up to 30%, and HP by 5%, stacks up to 50% for each stun successfully landed. And allies are immune to stun debuffs while under a shield buff placed by this champion's skill. Pretty good. And then, of course, we have the epic as well, which seems like a pretty alright epic. So overall, quite a nice set. And also, this epic is an Argonite epic, which is quite nice. Kind of a shame that the Mavara isn't. I'd love to get some Argonite champs. Obviously, we don't really have any need for them yet. There's no Argonite's faction crypt yet, but I'm sure it will come soon. What do you think of the new champions? Let me know, and I'll see you in the comments. Cheerio.